Good afternoon, our esteemed speakers, dear members, friends from the industry. A hearty welcome to all of you in today's webinar on rebooting manufacturing activities safely post-COVID, organized by the VDMA India. We hope all of you and your families and employees are all safe and doing well. I am Sandeep Roy and based out of Calcutta office of VDMA and would be taking you through the initial part of the today's webinar. Friends, as you are aware that in the early response to COVID-19, the nationwide lockdown was ordered with effect from 25th March 2020. After the lockdown 3.0, certain economic and industrial activities are being permitted in some zones and limping back to normalcy. Due to several weeks of lockdown and the closure of the industrial units during that period, it is possible that some of the operators might not have followed the established SOPs. As a result, some of the manufacturing facilities, pipelines, valves may have residual chemicals which may pose risk. The same is true for the storage facilities with hazardous chemicals and flammable materials. Friends, India's fight against COVID-19 hit a major hurdle when the country witnessed 3 industrial accidents back-to-back, including a major gas leak in southern states of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and followed by Chhattisgarh. In the backdrop of prepare and prevent, don't repair and repent, and to provide some insights to the VDMA members in particular, and the Indian manufacturing industries in general, on the safe start of the manufacturing activities, I would like to introduce and welcome a very illustrious experts joining us today's webinar. We have amongst us Mr. Lalit Gawane, Director General, National Safety Council, Mumbai, Mr. Surajit Bose, AVP Sustainability and Climate Change, ICP, Hindustan Coca-Cola Private Limited, Bengaluru, Dr. Ramani Krishnamurthy, Head of Medical Services, Corporate Physician, Daimler India Commercial Vehicle, Chennai, Mr. Karthikeyan Mahalingam, Head Quality and EHS, Festo India Private Limited, Bengaluru, Mr. Nitin Patil, Director, Nuclear Business, as well as Director Operation, Pune Factory, KSB Limited, Mr. Kanakaraju Thangavel, CTO and the Executive Board Member, Kluva Lubrication, Mysuru, and Mr. Jiten Mehta, General Manager, Plant Engineering, Milacron India Private Limited, Ahmedabad. A hearty welcome to all of you, our esteemed speaker. Friends, before we enter the main phase of the webinar, a very brief introduction of VDMA. VDMA is the largest industrial association of Europe with more than 127 years of legacy. We have more than 3,300 members in our fold, which employs around 1.03 million employees with a hoping 232 billion of growth of productions, out of which 78% of the products are exported. For the ease of operation, VDMA is divided into 38 engineering verticals, and we have offices across the world, primarily in the BRICS nation like India, China, Brazil, Russia, and also a representative office, European representative office at Brussels in Belgium. Friends, further, before we continue, we would like to remind all our audience that you can post all your questions during the webinar under the question and section, and then it would be answered during the question and answer session. Further, my humble request to all our esteemed speakers to complete your address or presentation within the allotted time of 5 to 7 minutes. Friends, coming back to today's webinar, it is my pleasure to invite Sri Lalit Gawane, Director General, National Safety Council. Gawane possesses a master degree in chemical in engineering of University of Maryland and diploma in safety engineering, and presently he is the Director General and the Chief Executive of the National Safety Council India. He is a safety, health, environment and fire protection professional and has over 31 years of professional experience in safety, health, environmental engineering management and strategy. He is also chairman of the CHD 8 Sectional Committee of the Bureau of Indian Standards on Occupational Safety and Health. May I request Mr. Gawane to share his thoughts on the subject, and also request you to touch upon the role of National Safety Council in ensuring industrial safety in India. Over to you, Mr. Gawane.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sandeep, and indeed it's a pleasure to be with you all today afternoon for this conference. And I thank the organizers once again for inviting me. Let me start with National Safety Council. National Safety Council was founded in the year 1966 by Ministry of Labour, Government of India, as a tripartite body and independent autonomous organization to promote safety, health and environment initiatives across the Indian industry. We are located in Navi Mumbai. The head office is in Navi Mumbai, and we have other some chapter offices in various states. The council has about 8,700 members as of now. From the Indian corporates, about 5,500 members. The individual professionals in the safety, health, environment function, they are our members. The trade unions are our members, and some educational institutions and professional organizations are also members. The primary role of National Safety Council is, it's not a statutory enforcing authority, first of all. It's an advisory service provided to the Indian industry, helping them to understand what is the safety law and how to implement it, and provide all sorts of consulting services and guiding them to meet the objectives of zero accidents and prevent the environmental pollution, create the better workplaces, and things like that. Corona, coming to this COVID-19 pandemic, National Safety Council is playing a good role in terms of providing various type of advisory services and guidelines to the industry, various training programs and webinars. Almost every alternate day there is a webinar happening from National Safety Council for the members and other interested organization.
Right.
As we believe, the Indian industry is passing through a major challenge now because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and safety, hygiene, wellness are going to be a very, very major role in the the days to come. The old concept of our old operating rather ways of working are going to change, and the new ways of working have to be evolved, have to be devised, and people need to be trained, because everybody coming to workplace now, almost a lot of people are working from home, including myself. But gradually when the lockdown opens, and when people are allowed to go to their workplaces, maybe in a graded, in a phased manner, but still people will have the challenges to which they need to address. The challenges for the companies are going to be, they have to resume their operations and continue the business to mitigate and reduce the economic losses and sufferings, and get the businesses going. The important challenge is going to be how to safeguard the employees, visitors and contractors from exposure to this COVID-19 and build the stakeholders trust. And this is going to have a this COVID-19 is going to have, and rather it has already started, the impact on occupational safety, employees' morale and the trust. Increased risk of occupational diseases is going to be there. Another challenge for the companies is that they have to ensure that the products or goods leaving their factory are not contaminated and do not become a source of contamination or source of infection at the receiving end. Protecting supply chain is very important, and the consumers will look for the safety, hygiene, and trust in the brands. And many of your pre-COVID days SOPs are going to become invalid, because a particular job, any job was done in a particular manner, employing 4 people or 6 people together to work. Now, those ways of working are not going to be valid. They would require a drastic revision, keeping in mind the uh, social distancing and sanitization and those issues. And as such, the entire sustainability is all of the organization is also going to be impacted, because the workforce safety and health is going to be impacted. And if a worker safety and health it becomes a concern, it becomes a concern for his family's health also, because a worker coming to factory, and if he is not taken care well, or he himself doesn't behave in a careful manner while working, he is going to carry that infection to his family, and his family will also get impacted. His morale is going, if the family's health is down, it will affect his morale, his productivity, and the quality of the product which leave the factory. So it's not just going to be some infection came and disappeared. It's not going to be that way. It's going to have a multiple effects uh, on the businesses. So the management's the priorities and obligations will be, first is adhere to the local laws and restrictions. I mean, when I say local law, not the old Factories Act and Environment Act or Companies Act. That anyway you have to do. But there will be several other restrictions or regulations coming from the government as far as safety, health, hygiene is concerned. So that will become a priority. Protecting employees, visitors, and other stakeholders will also be a priority, and the companies will have to spend money on providing necessary resources and making the required arrangements to making the required arrangements to control the or to prevent the spread of the disease in the workplaces. So what I feel the strategies which the companies should have is, you need to assign the responsibilities and accountabilities to various people in your workplaces. You need to have look at your SOPs and work practices. The lean practices will have to be adopted, because you are supposed to maintain the social distancing, so there should be lean practices or less number of people doing a particular job. The travel advisories and arrangements will have to be made, because we cannot travel the way we used to travel before 24th of March for our businesses. So companies will have to look at their travel advisories or travel policies, and there has to be a transparent approach for reporting and handling the COVID cases, if at all anything happens in the workplaces. So these challenges are going to be there. So what I would recommend is that the companies will have to first identify, when they restart, first before they restart, they will have to identify what are those hazards and risks as far as the COVID infection is concerned, and then accordingly plan their activities. Certain activities in safety area, we have a strategy of risk mitigation, starts from elimination. So you eliminate certain activities which are not necessary. Can you substitute a particular process with another process which will be less prone to any kind of infection, or which will be more effective? You need to think of some engineering controls also, and administrative controls will definitely play a major role. And in the safety, the PPE, which we as safety professional, we say PPE is the last resort. But in case of COVID, it is going to be the first. It is going to be the first and the must for safety of the individual. So these are the different ways or the strategies which the companies should adopt. National Safety Council has developed various kind of safety instruction material, the literature, the manuals, and all. They are all available for the Indian industry, and we will be definitely happy to participate in your safety journey. So. The companies will have to definitely look into each and every area of their operation, starting from the transport of the employees, how to transport the employees. Now many companies provide the employee transport. Now the transport is going to be filled only by only 30 or 40%. So that is going to add to the cost, because you can't run a full bus of 50 60 people.
Correct.
When the employee comes to your factory gate, now the regular the general the usual procedure is frisking of employees at the security gate while they are entering or going out. There you can't do that in the conventional way. You need to employ maybe the most modern security gadgets or the improved door frame metal detectors, the contactless security measures. So these are the things which I think all the industries need to take care. And the work from home is going to be the most while we Indians are not were not used to working much from home except our IT sector friends, but the manufacturing sector, definitely work from home is not possible for everyone in manufacturing sector. Now thanks to again the IT revolution, we are now talking of industry 4 or manufacturing 4, or smart manufacturing, where more and more usage of computer programs and less of manpower is going to be there for the manufacturing. And I know in automobile sector and all, it's going to be very helpful, rather possible to implement. But every manufacturing sector, it may not be possible, where the man and machine contact will have to be there. So going forward, these are the areas where the industries or the manufacturing sector need to look into. How do we engage the advanced technologies, where there will be less contact of main and machinery, or less crowding of people at workforce, yet the at the workplace, yet the work needs to be yet the work will have to be done. So COVID has, while it has impacted our life for last 2.5 months, but it has also opened many opportunities to the industries to look into. And while we are now navigating through this, we are thinking how to do a particular job in a safe manner. So these are the opportunities available for various sector, particularly the manufacturing sector. So I think every organization and every sector must look into this, and the priority is going to be the safety of the workforce. With that, I would stop here, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gawane. Thank you for setting the tone and very thought-provoking statement. Now, friends, moving to industry, it's my pleasure to invite our next speaker, Mr. Surojit Bose. Mr. Surojit Bose is the Associate Vice President. Hello, am I audible? Mr. Surojit Bose is the Associate Vice President of Sustainability and Climate Change, ICP with Hindustan Coca-Cola Private Limited, the wholly owned bottler of the Coca-Cola company in India. Mr. Bose has a Master of Science in Environmental Engineering from Louisiana State University. He's a BTech Honors in Civil Engineering from IIT Kharagpur, and is a certified energy auditor of Bureau of Energy Efficiency and a cost and management accountant, grade A, CWA, and a certified ISO 14001 auditor. Prior to joining HCCB, he was the associate director and the executive director respectively with PwC and Ernst & Young Climate Change and Sustainability Practices. I have a specific request to Mr. Bose, as he belongs to from the beverage industry. But I would request you, Mr. Bose, to cover some two of the following points in his statement. One, what are the main occupational hazards in food and beverage industry, and shared some example of best case practices followed in terms of contactless manufacturing against the backdrop of COVID pandemic. Over to you, Mr. Bose.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Good afternoon. Yes, yes, you're very much audible, Mr. Bose. Please.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are all keeping well in this crisis period. And it's great that we are restarting our facilities. Thanks to Mr. Gavane for an excellent introduction to this particular seminar. I thank BDMA for inviting me, as well as for this excellent topic, rebooting manufacturing safety post-COVID, which is very relevant at this point in time. I will share very briefly, as Sandeep just said, what exactly we are doing in this aspect. Yeah, firstly, in the Coca-Cola system, maintaining our commitment to quality, safety, and sustainability to our customers and consumers is foundational to keeping our promise, both during good times as well as during a crisis such as this. And this is underpinned by diligence, discipline, and determination, which permeates all our systems and processes. Now, with respect to the SOPs, for resumption of work, as you would imagine, we have a very stringent set of SOPs that are handed down to us thanks to our global process. We call this the core systems, and it it covers all our hazardous sort of systems and processes. For example, the ammonia tanks, carbon dioxide storage, nitrogen boilers, chilling stations, cooling rooms, high pressure compressors, the fire alarm systems, and the electricals. So the main focus that we had when we started reviewing, right during COVID and shutdown, was to see if our inspection or maintenance of any of these systems were missed. And so promptly we developed 4 very distinct documents. One was a 10 commandments for COVID-19 as a ready reckoner for all the factory people to understand what is expected from them to safeguard their health and safety. The second was a environmental, occupational safety and health due diligence checklist. The third was a vertical startup protocol, as and when we would start our systems with respect to the water treatment plants, effluent treatment plant, the line startup criteria, then the employee health and safety protection protocols. So we have a set of 8 key guidelines, and SOPs are built around these, which obviously, as you would imagine, include machine safety, fall protection, compressed gas management, electrical safety, fire controls, hot work requirements, confined space entry, hazardous energy control, to name a few. And with this, we take very seriously the OEM guidelines. The first thing that we asked to do was to review the safety risk assessment of all compressed gas management systems, because that is one of the very critical areas, given the kind of incident that we have seen and how careful we need to be. Next, we asked to check and run all critical equipment for 5 to 10 minutes every week to see that they are in running condition, checking out all the safety valves, pressure gauges, safety interlocks, so on and so forth. Then all work that was post issuance, so that anything that is taken up, so it has very well documented and authorized work permits, which is the basics of the safety system, and pre-work risk assessment. This was a compulsory for everyone. ensuring that training and competent people are authorized only, and we also increase the frequency of periodic testing of certain equipment like pressure vessels and safety valves.
Right.
Is there a question?
No, please carry on.
So with respect to the emergency preparedness plans, we updated them with the necessary COVID-related and other few hazards that we foresaw, and immediately had mock drills conducted. We had we revamped the entire basic as well as awareness trainings to support the emergency preparedness plan, implemented all the government guidelines connected to COVID-19 that Mr. Governor spoke about. Then the emergency assembly points were clearly redemarcated with the social distancing marks. The sitting positions in the canteens were redesigned. The separate isolation room, which usually gets neglected, we allotted a separate room for the factory to deal with any eventualities. With respect to the EHS guidelines, again, we had to write a few new SOPs with respect to the new usage of PPEs, taking into account the industry guidance, government guidance, best practices within our network globally, social distancing norms, temperature monitoring, sanitization of vehicles, workplace, and the disposal of PPEs. One of the most important areas was the secondary containment with respect to, not just the general drainage and sewerage, but also around our fuel tanks and chemical storage tanks. Very critical, as you know, would be the effluent treatment plant and to keep the bacteria alive there. Not only were the plants doing their audits, but we also had a system of multi-layered audits at the plant level. We have started conducting virtual audits, taking advantage of various augmentation support software, which is new, but we are getting used to it. As well as we have a global audit organization that has been also conducting audits over and above our audits. We finally developed a daily and weekly audit checklist because we realized that the plants need to recalibrate their own performance and need to understand how they're doing on a daily basis as well as on a weekly basis. So these checklists were invaluable to them, apart from the audits, to let them understand that they're doing everything as required, because nobody is able to visit the factories as of now. Apart from fuels, chemicals, acids, solvents, sanitizer storage has also become a very important aspect. Ethanol-based sanitizers, and hence we had to ensure that the inventories were reduced as much as possible. With respect to hazardous waste, since many of the service providers would not be able to transport, we took separate permission from Pollution Control Board and also ensured that to store hazardous waste for longer, what are the other precautions that we need to take. Best practices, I'll just touch upon a few. I know there are many other speakers. Our leadership did not allow us to commence production in the factories immediately, even though when we had regulatory approvals. And I think this was one of the most important things. We did not start everything at one go. The idea was essentially to understand the bottlenecks and learn from them and then gradually open up, although we had regulatory permission to open all the factories. This was one of the most important things that we did. We have been having calls 3 times a week. Just before this call, in fact, there was a call on working at height and another call starting on actions implemented and in the process of COVID-19, sharing of best practices 3 times a week. And the plant gets to, every plant gets to put across there the best practices so that everybody shares these practices. With these, I think I would end with saying that one thing that we have learned is that there is always something to learn, no matter how good you might be. So with those notes, I think I will stop for now. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bose, for such a elaborate arrangements on behalf of Coca-Cola that you have mentioned. It is indeed really a glaring example for others to also follow. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Friends, moving forward, we have a very versatile different speakers, and we have like to invite our next speaker, Dr. Ramani Krishnamurthy. Dr. Ramani is a senior medical professional with a current role as a head of medical services and also a corporate physician in Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, Chennai. With total career experience after graduation of more than 25 years in various settings from owning and operating a hospital to corporate healthcare delivery and main impetus on emergency care and occupational health. May I request Dr. Ramani to address the following points also in his address also. What is the SOP the Daimler India took to reopen the production, number one, and number two also some best practices being followed in your plant, balancing both human and plant safety. Over to you, Dr. Ramani. Yes, am I audible, Dr. Ramani? Yeah, Dr. Ramani, am I audible?
Yeah, am I audible? Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, audible, Dr. Ramani, you are audible. Please.
So good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to first thank the organizers for giving this opportunity for my presentation. Yes, thank you. So I've heard from the I heard from the previous speakers, mostly the plant process and other good practices, what they have done in the companies. So I would just like to share a few things what from the Daimler side we did, and how we through this lockdown, how we went through. So that will be my presentation. There will be also more leanings on health and wellness because I'm a medical professional, so I always tend to lean a little bit on my core subject. So which also I feel is very important in the present pandemic. It's a pure kind of a health related pandemic, so there should be a lot of health related topics also coming up. So that will compose my presentation. So how I divided this is people, plant, process, and practicality. Now, the first focus should be always the people. So Daimler always focuses on the people, and we got this first heads up a long time ago because of international entity. So late in early January, we got this heads up from the headquarters that there is this epidemic at that time. It's broken out in Wuhan, and we had our factories there. So that is when we sounded the first alarm bell somewhere end of January, and our first idea was to keep our people very, very safe and pull back all the international travelers and immediately cut down on travel. So that was our first motive. And the second thing is that we formed something called a crisis management team. So this is very important. The crisis management team is headed by the CEO. It is basically a cross-functional team with which includes people from each function who will give the correct inputs, and then the output can be given towards the crisis. So I'm also part of the crisis management team. So we initiated the crisis management team, and much before the lockdown one, we have already started the work from home option for most of our people. And as our first speaker rightly said, manufacturing companies, it is very, very difficult to do complete work from home because we should be on the ground. So whomever possible, we first made sure that much before the lockdown, they're working from home and ensure their safety. A couple of other things which are people related we did was a tracking system. We had a lot of international travelers whom we kept tracking right from the time they arrived, right from the time they came back to India, and we made sure that they're all right. We had a team which is continuously tracking these people on a regular basis. We kept our medical services open 24/7 completely during lockdown 1 and lockdown 2. The reason being that the access to healthcare was very, very difficult because a lot of people struggled to even access a doctor or an emergency. And we made sure that we gave the healthcare delivery to most of our employees who stayed in and around the plant. That included reaching out for emergencies. We even had a person whose wife was delivering and they could not get an ambulance. So we dispatched our ambulance, made sure she had a safe delivery, and then came back home. So this is a very, very important aspect of lockdown help or the lockdown support for the people. The second thing what we really started was a counseling service. So we basically started telemedicine immediately with a medical hotline number where people can dial in, take teleconsultations, and so that they do not get exposed to risk of going to a doctor or hospital, and make sure that they get quality medical care. And we also had numerous people in lockdowns, like bachelors, people in quarantine. Another big issue which is not being addressed a lot is mental health issue. So we made sure that we had a counseling cell open, and we had these people dial in for any counseling help, because the lockdown definitely put a lot of mental stress on a lot of people. Even they say work from home also put a lot of stress on a lot of people. So a lot of people reached out to our helplines and took a lot of counseling, which is a very active initiative we have taken. So we also sent regular communications from our corporate, from our crisis management team, curated communications on safety. So this included domestic safety, and also this included safety before how you come back to work. So what we did basically was pre-startup online webinars with all the people who are going to come back to work. So around 30% workforce was called. We made sure they finished a mandatory health and safety training through webinar before they step into the plant, so that they know that what are the do's and don'ts exactly they need to follow, how they need to come in the bus, how they need to be prepared. Do not come if you're sick. These are the main things which were discussed in this webinar sessions. The same thing, we also delivered safety online talks to most of our shop floor employees via videos, messages, and short messages through WhatsApp. So everybody was well trained before they came in, and they were aware of exactly what they were getting into. So this covers the people. Now, what about the plant? So during the lockdown 1 and 2, we had a dedicated team of 30 people inside the plant who really took care of all the critical activities like the propane yard, the HVAC, the electricity, the ETP, STP. So we housed them inside the plant with following the opening up of the plant. Of course, we had come up with a lot of SOPs, a lot of processes, which we brought in with a daily auditing system. And as you must know that we are also liable for any government audit at any time. So we had installed a special task force for this in place. So anybody auditing us, we make sure that we are all compliant with all the laws and regulation rules of the land. And this will be addressed to any government authority, because this is very important, because this can imply on a lot of fines and closures. There, a lot of rules were laid. Now, looking into the future, we're looking at telemedicine as one of the main platforms for healthcare delivery here. And we are also planning to start a lot of online programs. We're developing a digital platform for health and wellness, where the employee can log in and get in some good health and wellness programs, which he can easily access, him and the family. We're also looking at smart devices for social distancing, we're probably with Bluetooth based. So this is also in progress, and also a tracking on people where their containment zone, their health, and all these things. The fourth point is practicality. So what happens if we get a COVID-19 case inside the plant? This is the most practical situation anybody can come in. And so we need to make a standard operating procedure for this. And also we are planning to do a lot of tabletop exercises and a little bit of mock drills on the situation, so that which team will react and how do we deal with this situation. So this is all the best practices we do in and I'm sure I'm waiting to hear from my other colleagues also how they do it in their plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramani, for taking us through the various aspects of the Daimler has taken in terms of helping people, plant, and productivity. Thank you very much. Friends, now it's time to invite our next speaker, Mr. Karthikeyan Mahalingam from Festo. Mr. Mahalingam is the head of quality and the EHS Festo. But before that, I would like to go for a online poll from the audience, friends. Kindly just wait for that. The question is the process manufacturing or the discrete manufacturing activity, which of the two is more riskier in terms of safety? We just for a few moments let the results come up, and then we invite our next speaker. Yes, we are already having just few more time. We will have. I think we now almost received our results in the process of summarizing. Just we are about to share. Yeah. So if we look into that, almost there is a balance in terms of what is the more riskier. Yes, of course, the process manufacturing came first, as always, with a 41%. But as always, also discrete manufacturing, and both are not actually behind that on 34%, and then the only discrete manufacturing is 25%. Thank you, audience, for being part of this panel. Friends, moving forward now, it's time to invite our next speaker, Mr. Mahalingam. As I was mentioning, he's the head of quality and EHS Festo Global Production Center with more than 19 years of experience in quality assurance and EHS function. He is a certified Six Sigma Black Belt and certified lead auditor for ISO 9001, 14001, and certified auditor for QS 9000, ISO TSH 16949, IATF 16949, and he is holding a master degree in business administration and a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering. He has worked in various organizations like UFSL, TVS and Motors, and Schneider Electric before being joining to Festo. I may request Mr. Mahalingam in his address presentation also to consider these two questions when he replies. When the gas leakage occurred in Vizag, not even a single siren got activated as reported, considering that whether further process automation would be helped to prevent accidents in future. Number one, and do you have any on-site disaster management plan? If you can kindly share some thoughts in this matter in addition to your presentation. Over to you, Mr. Mahalingam.
Thanks, Mr. Roy.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon to all. Myself, Karthikeyan Mahalingam, Head of Quality and Environment, Health and Safety function. I'm heading this function, and I am going to present you the health and safety of Festo India and health and safety, a cultural development, and how it is supported us in rebooting manufacturing safely post COVID-19. And this health and safety cultural development, we are focusing on 4 elements: people, processes, projects, and communication. By focusing on these 4 elements, we can able to develop a sustainable health and safety culture in the organization. Just go to the next slide. Yeah. First, people side. We are having a more focus towards people side by creating awareness to all the employees, by providing various training programs, starting from basic training, starting off joining in the organization. We are giving the induction training to all the employees on health and safety and first aid, firefighting, mock drill training. And apart from this, we are doing various awareness campaign for our employees to involve more towards health and safety practices, like National Safety Day. And our employees are more involved in developing a sustainable health and safety culture by creating various awareness programs. And some of our employees are more participating in the various training programs. Just go to the next slide, please. And of course, the process side, occupational health and safety management system deployment is one of the critical elements. And thanks to Festo health and safety policy, which is a apex level framework documentation, which helps us to deploy this occupational health and safety management system. And you can see the right side of the slide where the how best in class health and safety culture in Festo India. Starting from 2013, where we started our global production center inception, we started focusing on basic health and safety awareness programs, and then developing the core working processes, and towards implementing this ISO 45001 2018, earlier replacement to OSHA's 18001. If you see the core working process, it is very elaborate core working process, starting from this first aid, emergency evacuation, transportation safety, chemical and gas safety release system, machine safety, and all this core working process helped us a lot in rebooting our manufacturing without any hurdles after the lockdown. I am going to discuss much elaborate about this process during my subsequent slides, how this process deployment has helped us a lot in rebooting our manufacturing after the post lockdown and without any hurdles. Just go to the next slide. Yeah. This occupational health and safety awareness among all our employees, we have done through EHS awareness video. Any employee who is joining the factory, first compulsory he has to undergo this awareness training. It is a self-learning module with interactive session where employee will completely understand about the Festo health and safety awareness. Over and above, we have a detailed environment health and safety handbook. This handbook covers the complete start to end of the Festo organization towards health and safety. And this health and safety, it's not only about Festo employee, it talks about the health and safety support by the stakeholders, including suppliers and customers. This is supported by, we have a detailed environment, health and risk management processes in place, where all the risk related to environment, health and safety is continuously assessed and all the necessary action is in place. And of course, when it comes to the external suppliers or service providers, when they're coming to the factory, we have a detailed process called work permit, which completely governs the external suppliers' contribution to this health and safety management system. Apart from this, we have a stringent environment, health and safety audit system is in place, which is run through a Plan, Do, Check, Act PDCA system, and the health and safety system is taken care by stringent audits and recommended actions and corrective and preventive actions in place. Yeah, when it comes to the legal compliance, we have a stringent legal compliance process in place. You might have seen the process in the previous slide, the legal laws and order. It is not only about the Factories Act or other acts. We are also have a stringent legal compliance process in place, which take care of all the international, national, regional, as well as the local regulations. And coming into this COVID-19, this process deployment helped us a lot in COVID-19 preparedness. Just move to the next slide, please. Yeah. This is our simple one-page COVID-19 safety guideline. It talks about all the basic precautions on this COVID-19, and it starts with wearing masks, ensuring the social distance, temperature checks, 24 hours quarantining the material, and then avoiding the physical contact, and the no sanitization, usage of hand sanitizer and all. This is basically a process communication. This is how we are communicating to our employees. So the effective communication makes the employee aware about these requirements and guidelines, and they will follow this. Go to the next slide, please. COVID-19 preparedness SOP and way forward. We prepared a comprehensive COVID-19 preparedness standard operating procedure, and this talks about starting from the pre-screening. Before employee onboarding, we have a set of questionnaires, 10-point questionnaire, and it talks about the travel history and then living place, whether he is from the containment zone or not, and then his present health condition and the locality information. All this information it covers, and we are pre-screening the employee based on the information, and only approved members only can onboard. Over and above, we have completely mapped the employee starting from his home, how he is reaching to the facility, and how he is working, and how he is safely returning back to his home. In this, the transportation preparedness by checking the employee temperature, and then allowing him to onboard into the vehicle, social distancing in the vehicle, and then of course entering into the facility, sanitization of the vehicles, and then social distancing at the workplace area, and predominantly PPEs, personal protective equipments, how the employee is using the PPEs and conforming to the requirements. Over and above, how we are maintaining the social distancing in the cafeteria, and then how the employee safely return back to his home. Over and above, the meetings are based on this COVID-19 guidelines. The complete SOP, my previous speaker spoken about the SOPs needs to be redefined. Of course, yes, Testo India redefined its complete SOPs and all the meetings converted into where maximum possible virtual e-meetings, and complete starting entering into the factory to leaving where and all employees touch points, and we are avoiding this physically touching by providing various methods like non-contact methodology, including non-contact attendance system, removal of biometrics, and non-contact opening of doors, closure of doors, and over and above the hygiene of the restroom, dormitories, restrooms. We have stringent processes in place to maintain this hygiene. Of course, COVID, it has helped us to redefine our practices, and I can say we are health and safety oriented organization. But this COVID-19 made us to one more time revisit our health and safety precautions, and it's made us to make a robust health and safety culture in the organization. And coming into the material safety, we have a stringent material safety process in place. All the incoming materials are going through the compulsory 24 hours quarantining, and then complete disinfectant spray and sanitization, and then usage. And similarly, our containers are handled with the global guidelines. And coming into the emergency response and preparedness, we have a detailed process in place, and then we make sure we are responding to the emergency preparedness. And we have separate isolation room and emergency hospitals contact, and then we have very developed system is in place. Over and above, we are following all the precautions of the HVACs guidelines, temperature and humidity setting, and compulsory installation of Arogya Setu app in the employee mobile phones. And we have a detailed travel ban policy, and then visitor policy. Of course, unless otherwise required, we are restricting our people not to travel, and everything we try to do through virtual e-meetings. And similarly, visitors, we have a visitor policy is in place. That means unless otherwise required business critical, we are not allowing any visitors to inside the premises. So, and of course, thanks to this self-quarantine policy, we have a stringent self-quarantine policy is in place, and any of the suspected or any of the contacts or any suspicious scenarios, we are asking the employees to stay quarantined for 14 days, and based on the health condition only, we are allowing them to onboard. It is not only fresh onboarding, even it's applicable for regular people, those working in the shop floor. And thanks to PPEs and all the supporting and hygiene measures, we can able to reboot our manufacturing facility without any hurdles. And this is possible only by the Testo health and safety culture, which we address through systematic way of people, process, projects, and communication. Just go to the next slide, please. This is our best practices. You can see the snaps. Starting from the employee pre-screening, how we are disinfecting the vehicle, how we are checking the employee temperature, and of course, how the vehicle is allowed inside the premises with proper disinfection and sanitization, and then how employees are declaring themselves on daily basis they are free from all the risks, and then non-contact type kind of non-contact type where and all doors or levers. Similarly, the sanitization, all non-contact type, and predominantly social distancing. The social distancing at all the places, including emergency evacuation, we have a detailed social distancing process. During the emergency evacuation also, we made such a robust process, and within 1.5 meter distance, each employee, they are able to make this emergency evacuation. And coming into the technology, we are also bringing a lot of advanced technology like UV, ultraviolet technology to disinfect the consignments. And similarly, in all the areas where shoe disinfection, we are using ultraviolet technology. Similarly, all the tabs, all they are converting into non-contact type. So the employees feel comfortably safe environment to work in Festo. And I'm again repeating, this is possible only by way of robust cultural development. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah. When it coming to the communication side, we have a very well-defined communication top to bottom and bottom to top. Our managing director used to address to all the employees in the town hall and virtual e-meetings, priority and first preference to health and safety. And health and safety is our first priority. And we have well-defined communication channel in place. Over and above, we are strongly believe in visual communication. And you can see a lot of posters, pictures and all. And we have a bottom-up communication is in place where employee can give suggestion on the health and safety improvement, which will be reviewed by the health and safety committee and it will be implemented. And even the recent COVID-19 after post-lockdown also, we discussed with various employees, we have taken their suggestions and improvements and we deployed it. So the communication also one of the critical element in developing the robust health and safety culture. Go to the next slide. This is about the health and safety culture of Festo India and how this robust cultural development helped us to reboot our manufacturing facility post after the lockdown.
Okay.
Thanks to all and thanks to Festo management for providing this opportunity. Of course, our managing director, he is the role model for us and he is the man who is instrumental behind all these health and safety practices in the facility. Mr. Ashok Vasavan, he is living by his values and he is the man who supports us and deploying all the health and safety practices and we are learning continuously from him. And thanks to VDMA for providing this opportunity. And thanks to all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lingam, for a very enriched presentation. Friends, moving forward, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Nitin Patil. He is the Director, Nuclear Business as well as the Operation of the KSB. Mr. Patil is a B in Industrial and Production Engineering and also a SAP PP certified and a postgraduate qualification in Finance. Working with KSB Limited for last 29 years and I have worked in various functions in operations after joining KSB as GET. He is presently working as the Director Nuclear Business Division and as well as he is taking the charge of the operation for the plants in Pune. His specialty is into manufacturing, engineering of pumps, including pumps required for the nuclear power plants. May I request Mr. Patil 2 points while he addressed the topic, being from the operation sides also. As we have seen many areas that safety first, production must, these common slogans in various factories in India. Now, would it take a backseat and become a new normal, considering the other priorities of companies become more priority in the change scenario, like when the companies are facing their own sustainability and the liquidity crisis when the companies are facing? This is number one. And number two is that how the companies can ensure the optimum production to make up the losses without compromising the safety and security of the human resource. Over to you, Mr. Patil, for your valuable feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roy. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon to all. Thanks to VDMA for providing me this opportunity to present on KSB's behalf, as well as a platform to exchange ideas. Unfortunately, since I am fourth or fifth speaker, I think most of the points have been covered by my fellow panelists. But, however, I will go through a short whatever I have done.
Yes, please.
I have a series. These were tough times for the industry as well as for individuals. I think we all have come out well in general out of that, though Mr. Roy mentioned about some accidents, but I think in general we have come out of it well. We never have envisaged or planned for such an eventuality, but yes, time has made us wiser, and now I think we are prepared for any such eventuality in future. There are a lot of SOPs circulating around, mainly focusing on sanitization, social distancing, some are business related, safety related, etc. What is important, what I feel is every company based on its processes and process involved in its own premises will have to build their own SOPs based on the best practices.
True.
To start with, what I would recommend to all the industry colleagues is this Government of India Ministry of Home Affairs had issued a guideline on dated May 9th. It is a good document to start with for rebooting or restarting the industry. As I said, most of our my presentation or my points, I would more focus on manufacturing or in engineering industry, and then come to Mr. Roy's two questions if I have time. If you see, most of the maintenance managers are well aware of all the precautions which need to be taken while starting after a longer lockdown which we had for more than 2.5 months. But it is important not to overlook them as a management. It is important for us. I would broadly classify the equipment in an engineering industry, KSB being a pump manufacturing company, pumps and valve manufacturing company. Major equipment, if you see, I would classify into machines, that is conventional as well as CNC machines. Then electrical, high tension supply and low tension supply installations. Then air pressure system. Then overhead cranes, DG sets, material handling equipment. We being pump manufacturing company, we have a pump testing facility where their pressure and temperatures are higher. So that is one. And then the remaining utilities. So what we have done is in each of these categories of equipment, we have made SOPs for our maintenance guys to check, and with checklists for each machine and each equipment. So for each of the category, if you say, it would involve checking of all electrical cabinet for abnormality, then use of lockout and tagout, checking of machine earthing, check this panel for air condition and oil cooling filters, checking hydraulic level, etc.
About me, I have not seen.
Pardon?
I think no. I think there is some interference.
Yeah.
Please carry on, Mr. Yeah.
Okay. Then what is the next? What I would recommend is, to begin with, the machine should be operated at a lesser feed rate. And I know that from production background or from operational background, the lure to ramp up the production is there. But I think I would recommend we ramp up it step by step way. I think taking care in the initial phases would help us in recovering the lost ground. Then coming to electrical installation, we being a pump manufacturing company where very high tension supply is there, including 6 megawatt or 6 kVA power supply connection. It is very important that the transformer, substation, ST switchgear, distribution panels are checked. So that is one point which is a very risky area in engineering industry, which needs to be checked, including the tightness in the connections, and then earthing plates, and then earthing resistance, etc. Then the next category of equipment, I think, which is there in any engineering industry, is air pressure system, where the compressor, the air vessel, air pipelines need to be checked, especially the pressure vessels, and then the integrate and the instruments in this system, including the pressure gauges, then valves, air dryer, etc. Then one of the important category in an heavy engineering industry is overhead cranes. Normally these are not given due importance in many industries, but I think this is one of the more critical areas where it is important to have a proper check of all overhead cranes, especially checking for loose parts lying on crane, clean panels, rails, bus bars, hoist brakes. Braking is very important. Functional operation of crane from safety perspective, including if one feels that we need to do the load test for heavy cranes. I think that is worth doing it. Then comes equipment like DG set, where it's also there in each and every industry. I think then there are different checkpoints for DG set. Then material handling equipment like forklifts, pallet stackers, etc. Checking the battery and brakes of all those systems. And then KSB being pump industry, where the test field is one of the major areas where very high pressures, including up to 500 bars, are envisaged, and then temperatures up to 200 degrees centigrade. So the pipelines, the checking, the tightness, and the leak tests of this is very important. In the test field also, the lot of electrical equipment is there. I think that also we have to check. Other than that, the last but not the least is the utility system, which any industry will have, like UPS, especially air conditioning system, cleaning of the system, disinfection of the filters, and then one critical thing which we normally envisage is the attack of rodents on cabling, etc. I think pest control is important. These are very small things, but need to be taken care of. Then emergency lighting system, water tanks. One more thing which is coming up after this COVID, especially is touch-free mechanism in most of the areas, including water taps, doors, soap dispensers, which are foot operated or sensor operated. I think this is thing which we need to implement everywhere in the company while maintaining social distancing. This is one important point. I think one of our panelists also said that company checked all the touch points which an employee would normally go through. And then some company specific equipment like automated material storage system which we have, that needed to be checked. So fume extractor, dust extractor system, then passenger lifts which are normal, firefighting system. In the firefighting system, again the jockey pump, the main pump, the engine, all the equipment needed to be checked and signed off before operations. One more point which is recently, there are a lot of papers we are handling in the company, which are shop papers, drawings, etc., which our operators handle, and we are looking at disinfecting that. To start with, we have started disinfecting them through using of our normal furnace. But what I understand, DRDO in collaboration with an industry has launched some UV based disinfectant. So we are looking at it. But as of now, we are trying to disinfect the paper so that people touching those papers, there is a risk of infection. As I said, these are the broad areas where any engineering industry need to work, and so every industry will have to have SOP concerning those category of equipment which will be heavy. So that's it from my side. Two questions, Mr. Roy, you had asked. One was related to whether production will be given priority than safety. No, sorry. I think all big industries and organized sector would never do that, because in long term, what will stay is your people, your processes, and your name will stay. So I think it is worth losing some productivity in the beginning. So we ramp up slowly, as that's why what we have decided, though. In Pimpri Chinchwad as well as in Shirwal, we are allowed to go up to 100% capacity. We have only gone up to 33% as of now, and we plan to ramp up slowly. That was one point. Another point I forgot, Mr. Roy.
Yeah, it's basically how to ensure the optimum production to make up the losses without compromising the safety and
yes. What we have done is from the production perspective is, as I said, we don't want to come to 100%, but from the business side, what we have seen is we have categorized the customers' requirements based on their urgencies, their needs, etc., so that we can prioritize those. I think it is better to be a little bit careful in the beginning, but I think we will get time to ramp up the production to 100%. And so to begin with, I would say that we are in a learning phase as regards to social distancing norms and other things. So it's not, I wouldn't recommend that we ramp up the production to 100% in very near future, but yes, we have a plan to do it in next few weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patil. It's really sharing your thoughts and always putting the safety as a priority. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Now, friends, it's now time to move on and to invite our next speaker, Mr. Kanakaraju Thangavel. He is the CTO and the executive board member of Clubel Lubrication. He is a Master of Technology in Polymer Science and Technology from IIT Delhi and a Master in Business Administration. He has more than 32 years of experience and worked in Nerolac, MRF, and AkzoNobel before joining Clubel Lubrication. He is also a member of the Indian Paint Association and also member of some of the board of studies of the various engineering colleges in India. Mr. Thangavel would take us the safe opening of the Clubel Lubrication post-lockdown through his brief presentation. And I would request Mr. Thangavel to reply to one of my questions also, because you being from the lubrication industry, what are the process safety are in place in terms of handling the hazardous chemicals in your plant? Mr. Thangavel, over to you.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, very much.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you very much. And, thank you, VDMA, for giving this opportunity. And, good evening, all of you are connected on the phone this evening. And I'm from a company which is basically a German-based. It is Schoenberg, which is about 9.5 billion euro company. And one of the specialty chemicals is the business of Schoenberg. And one of the companies of chemicals business is Kluber. And Kluber is a German-based headquartered company with specialty lubricants which we supply to most of the customers, all segments from auto to cement to you name it. Wherever machine is running, wherever there is a friction, we supply lubricants. Okay, I have 4-5 slides, and some of the points have been already covered by the previous speakers, but I'll just spend a little more time on the items where we have done something which unique. So I'll be covering on the hygiene of the plant and machineries of the plant and people safety, then dealing with emergency. Next slide, please. Yeah. The next slide, please. Yeah. This is sanitize and disinfect the plant. When we were locked down for about a month's time, and we were able to resume operations based on the essential services commodity support, basically because lubricants are required to supply to the food industry, pharma industry, and continuous process industry like steel. And we also supply food grade lubricants to food industries. So because of that, based on that, we have been given an exemption to start our plant on the 20th of April. When we closed on the 24th of March, we are able to open on 20th of April. So with this a month time, everything was closed. Even though at the time of closing, we have ensured that we have properly closed all. We are manufacturing water-based systems. So obviously, it is very important we drain waters, all the process waters, and keep everything dry so that when we reopen, there will not be any fungus. And some of our products are very, very important that, they are not fungal attacked. So we have to be very careful on our process water. So we have drained the waters and we have properly closed the plant. When we reopened, first thing what we did is we completely desanitized, disinfected the plant, and right from security to exit gate, everything. And all the people entering the plant were temperature screened. And if you really look at MHA guidelines, one of the speaker was saying, it is really a Bible. And if one can get into it and really read and implement it, I think we are fairly safe as far as our operations are concerned. And we have ensured that all the raw materials, mostly we get quite a lot of imported raw materials, including from China. So all the materials which comes into the factory, we disinfect and leave about 24 hours cool off period before the item is taken for testing. And all the vehicles and parcels entering the plant are disinfected, and after that only the vehicles are allowed inside. And we have kept sufficient sanitizers, masks, and visual hygiene standard posters. And using of masks and disposal of the mask is very, very important. People, those who are using, they'll not be how to dispose it. That's also important. We made a process for it, and we have informed all our employees those who are coming inside how to dispose the mask within the plant. And we also had the process of disposing the masks. The next slide, please. Yeah, this is basically on the machineries. As you know that we are a chemical intensified industry. We use quite a lot of chemicals, variety of chemicals, right from oils to solvents to pressurized nitrogen cylinders. So it's very chemically hazard industry. We come into the red category. So we have gone through a very elaborate process of opening the plant. Our engineering department took custody of all the machineries, and they have started releasing one by one um, based on the engineering common equipments. Then each plant within the site was released and handed over to production. Only after it was released by engineering and handed over to production, and production can start operating. One of the speaker was asking a question specifically, for the question he was answering, what is more important? Safety is more important. Yes, in the whole process, we took approximately about a week for each of the complete plant was handed over to the production people to operate. This includes including the laboratory equipments, where some of the equipments are very expensive, and they have to be also safely handed over to the lab technicians to operate. And we made an SOP for this, and we have a headquarters at very elaborate SOP. We have sent it to our headquarters at Germany, and we also have one of the product range we manufacture from US based. So we have sent it to US, and also some of the original equipment manufacturers. We took guidance from all three of them. Then we made our own document to restart the plant with proper SOPs. And the new norm of people cannot work at the same way they were working in the factory. So obviously, we have made some of the changes in our way of people working inside the site. Where if there are, for example, 3-4 people are working very close to the proximity, or there are only people who are working, one person is working, and there are people who are staying little distance, how to work, because wearing a mask inside the plant continuously is also a risk. So we have also made a sort of a guideline for people working in the plant, how to they work and what kind of safety process which they have to follow in the new normal working. Next slide, please. Yeah, this on the people. We have first thing we did no biometric. All people will be thermal screened, and the hotspot, all the employees, those who are coming to factory or our HR department continuously tracks whether they are coming from hotspot area, they are coming from green area, red area, or containment area within the district or within the city where they are coming from. And this keeps changing, so the HR is all daily on touch, and any people who are red is screened much more, and anyone who is on the containment zone has been asked to not to come for work. So we have also followed that protocol to ensure that our people are safe, and we also on the site we keep our employees safe. And we made one pandemic screening questionnaire, and each of the employee has filled up and given, and any of the visitor who comes in also has to fill it up. Like for example, the drivers, those who are coming for loading unloading, they have to fill up the question, or our security fills on behalf of them, and all the details about the drivers and the cleaner, and what they were what are the factories or the places which they have visited for the past 10 days, so that in case of a problem we can have a tracking mechanism at our end. And we have completely told all the visitors not to come, and only visitors who are allowed were some maintenance people, whom in case of a breakdown maintenance or preventive maintenance, when we have to call some of the outsiders, they have been screened and after that only taken inside. And we have said no group meetings, no gatherings inside the plant, including change room, as per the MHA guidelines. We have our factory we divided into 7 blocks, and each of the block people, those who are working, are not allowed to go to the other block, so that the social distancing plus unnecessary movement of people inside, plus also holding them to the workplace, and not that they can go to the other department without any work. Or even if there is an issue where the production sample has to be given for quality for testing, we made a common area where the samples are kept with proper labeling, and the quality after that picks up the sample tests and everything is after that through the computer system, through the online system, and there is no physical handshaking or physical handing over of the documents. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is dealing with emergency. We have created an emergency room. First, we started with OHC, and after that, we have created a room for it, where in case of an emergency, how to deal with it. A very nice document was made in consultation with our factory doctor, and with that, every day when there is an temperature screening, any symptoms, people are just asked to go take rest, and after that see that everything is okay. After that only they are allowed inside the plant again, or if there is a problem, then they are sent out to home or hospital, and a separate process which has been made to ensure that our in case of an emergency, how to handle it. And this also was the best practice was taken from our German side, how their process which they have made in handling emergency on the COVID emergency, in case if someone is tested positive, or in someone is having the symptoms of fever, cough, and something which body pain which is relating to COVID. So that we have made, and with that we have ensured that mostly things what plant hygiene, people safety, and plant handing over to production. So it's almost now it's about close to about 1.5 months after the lockdown, first lockdown announced. We are running, and as per the government guidelines also in terms of people restrictions and time restrictions, and it is a challenge, and it's also gives a lot of strength to us to work on the challenge and continue our production and our business in the new normal and support our customers. And I think the question which was asked was how do you handle the hazardous chemicals, and I can also answer that. The hazardous chemicals, as I said, we are using right from oil to chemicals to water to solvents, low flash solvents, and also pressurized tanks where nitrogens are stored, and hydrogen, some small hydrogen and oxygen cylinders are stored. So those kind of places we have completely relooked at our SOP, and we have also restarting, we have asked our engineering to take care. After that, we have asked our quality and safety department to redefine our SOP with the new normal working, which after COVID-19 what has been done. So it is a challenging thing, because every material which is coming in has to be disinfected, and every material which is going out has to be disinfected before it is handed over to the truck drivers. That's all from my end, and any questions I can take it later. Thank you.
Thank you for taking us through the plant process and people safety aspects from the being followed in the global lubrication. Now, friends, we move on to invite our next speaker, Mr. Jiten Mehta. He's the General Manager, Plant Engineering. A mechanical engineer by profession, Mr. Mehta possesses more than 30 years of experience, out of which he is associated with Milacron India for more than 24 years. He has expertise over creating the new manufacturing facility from planning to plant building, plant layout, utility planning, efficient management of machinery and facilities. He was trained in Germany as well as in Japan for operation and the maintenance of the CNC machine. I would request to briefly touch upon Mr. Mehta while he is covering these subjects. Also, you being a machine builder, what are the measures are in place in your factory in terms of machinery safety? Over to you, Mr. Mehta.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening. It's
Good
a
evening.
pleasure to be with all of you. I'm thankful to VDMA and privileged to have this opportunity. Over the last few weeks, a lot has changed. India has been in a lockdown for 2 months. This pandemic has spread to all over cities and towns, though a large part has been contained with the timely lockdown. Now we stand on the verge of new phase as the lockdown is being gradually lifted in safe zone across the country. Many industries are permitted to restart with certain regulation. It is a huge responsibility on the government and as well as on each one of us to maintain community health and safety while also building our economy from near zero activity to normal levels. This phase will invariably be marked by both hope and nervousness, and lot will depend on how we handle it. We all need to be very alert during rebooting activities in our organization, and I'm sure that this webinar will help us a lot. When I was discussing last week with Mr. Rajesh Nath, we were also discussed about that few accident happened in different states of India. And for that, I would consider the subject on process safety. So I would like to share what precautions have been taken during reboot our heat treatment shop. I'm sure that this will be helpful for all of participants if they have similar process. For this type of process where this chemical and gas are there, extreme care is required to reboot this process, specifically which are using toxic gas. In our organization, we have 4 nitriding furnaces in a treatment shop. In nitriding process, ammonia gas is used as process requirement, which is considered highly toxic if sprayed. During process, ammonia dissociation takes place around 500 degrees centigrade temperature, and nascent nitrogen reacts with metal during the process of hardening. During this process, if ammonia leakage observed, it is harmful to human beings, not only within organization, but may spread in surrounding area also. It is irritant to eyes, nose, throat, and can be fatal also. If exposure is more, it can be fatal also. That's why I said extreme care is required. So we were very watchful before starting our furnace, and what precautions we take, just I will explain. So first of all, one speaker said it is not normal SOP. So we agree with that. We prepared the specific special SOP how to reboot this process. And also we call the OEM and have his recommendation and guidelines and prepare one training session for our operators, maintenance manager and process engineer. When they enter, they first need to look at about good ventilation in that shop, because the shop was opening after around 2 months, 1.5 to 2 months, and they confirm sanitization is done. First of all, they need to confirm that all power is switched off, and then physical check and inspection of all equipments and sub-assembly as per checklist. So before that, you need to prepare detailed checklist. So team is team can go inside and check accordingly. So if we go one by one, then first is the electrical panel and thyristor bank. They have to check all wires, cable, fuselings, switches, check earthing for correct resistance, inspect the parts of the furnace, top cover, electrical motors, cooling fan, cylinder, heater elements. So it will be very specific and detailed check all these items, so nothing can be left. Check rubber part condition like seals and o-ring. This is very important, and it is recommended to straight away replace it with a new one. Check cooling path of surroundings of this water pocket of water circulation to maintain the o-ring temperature and life during process. Inspection of ammonia bottle. As ammonia is a very toxic gas, we also check the safety precautions taken at ammonia bottle supplier end. Yes, they are very nearby to our factory, or we can discuss over phone for that what type of safety precautions they are taking, our raw material supplier or this type of gas supplier. Inspection of ammonia pipeline with pressure test. It is a water test of 6 to 7 bar pressure. We hold it for 4 to 5 hours and ensure that no damage inside the pipeline. Pipeline is okay and there will not be any leakage during process. Working and condition check of process instrument like ammonia regulator, pressure gauges, valve, and you need to ensure for zero leakage. Check for safe working of ancillaries like cooling tower as per SOP. The detailed SOP is required as explained by, I think, Mr. Patil during his session. The compressor and EOT crane which are inside the nitriding shop. Ensure working condition of process apparatus like dissociation meter and flow meter. Ensure cleaning of exhaust pipeline up to gas burner to avoid any back pressure in the system or in burner, as unused ammonia is burnt with LPG. Ensure exhaust gases are as per pollution control norms. Ensure working of PID and temperature controller as well as safety controller. Check and inspection of the attached utility and safety installation with the nitriding furnace like water showers and safety shower. Check and confirmation of all electrical and mechanical safety devices like flow, pressure, detection switches, buzzers for gas and water. Check the lifeline availability as per process requirement like full body apron, oxygen cylinders, fire hydrant, fire extinguisher, mask, gloves, safety goggle, safety shoe, safety helmet, etc. Check condition of capacitor bank, connection of capacitor bank, capacitance of that bank. We have installed capacitor bank near load for power factor correction, as this is the highly inductive load. After necessary maintenance and replacement of required spares, switch on one furnace step by step. Every time input and output voltage check is must between phase and neutral and phase to phase. Most of you know nitriding is a continuous process, about 4 days cycle, where 72 hours is soaking time. So before jump or run production load, it is must to run test cycle to double check of safety under supervision of experienced maintenance manager and engineers. After successful test run, furnace is ready for production, and thus we have succeeded to complete our first production batch in beginning of this month safely and without any concern in all our 4 furnaces. Meanwhile, also I would like to convey that team should be ready with disaster management plant. If something goes wrong during this rebooting process, safety team should respiratory and full protective clothing. Stay upwind. Stay upwind is very important when any leakage is observed. You just to stand opposite the wind direction. start water showers and water curtains, use water spray immediately as ammonia is very soluble in water, switch off furnace power supplies, ammonia is flammable, keep fire extinguisher, foam type or CO2 type ready, shut off leak or cut off ammonia supply at earliest if it is safe to do so. With help of evacuation plan, keep people away, information and ask for local authority help. This all should be incorporated in disaster management plan. As a machinery manufacturer, most of things are covered in earlier presentation, but we are also managing the social distancing in our plant. Right now, we are working with 30 to 35% of our strength. We have all the arrangement at security. The thermal check is there. We have all touch point is eliminated. The water tap and drinking water taps are now with sensor, operating with sensor, and the material is sanitizing before come to factory and after the finished product, which is going to our customer space. So I would like to end the session here with hoping for better time as we keep playing our part. I'm sure that together we will fight this pandemic to much stronger and ready for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Mehta. Thank you very much for this encouraging note. Now, friends, before we move on to the question and answer session, we'll have one more poll to go live and just wait for it. Yeah, the cost of implementing safety processes increases post COVID-19 commencement of manufacturing, which you feel significantly more or marginally increase and no increase at all. So I request all the audience to please participate in the poll and we wait for the moment. Okay, a few more seconds, we wait. Yeah, I think. Okay, just here is the results. We are almost finally balanced, I would say. People, the majority ones say marginally will increase, and we have a very balancing also significantly more, 44% also said, but 56% also said the marginally increase. Now, friends, thank you very much for all the speakers to having a very encouraging sessions on various safety aspects covering people, plant, process, and machinery. Now we move to the question and answer session. We'd like to invite our Managing Director, Mr. Rajesh Nath. Many of you know Mr. Nath. He has been synonym in the face of the VDMA for almost 2 decades. He has more than 29 years of experience working in various industries in both Germany and India. He is accorded the Cross of Merit, Order of Merit, the highest civilian award from the German President for promoting Indo-German bilateral trade in engineering. Over to you, Mr. Nath.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. Good afternoon, all the panelists and all the attendees. So thank you very much, panelists. I think we had a very interesting session. A lot of learnings from this session also, I think, for our audience. And in fact, there are quite a few questions that have come. I would just take a few questions. Let me start with Mr. Gabane first. There's a question, Mr. Gabane, they are saying that the government is not clear regarding chemicals to be used for the sanitization. In fact, this person has mentioned that the sanitizer is also causing rust on metal parts. What would you say to that, Mr. Gabane? Mr. Gabane, we are, yeah.
Yeah, now I see. Yeah, I heard the question. Yes, that issue is yet to be addressed completely. Some people had started using sodium hypochloride on individuals for disinfection and all, and then the government issued the directive that it should not be used because it has caused irritation, skin irritation and all. Also the chemicals which are being used for spraying on machinery are causing rust. So as of now, there is not a single I mean one solution which fits all, and it will have to be evolved, and depending on what material you want to really disinfect. So as we go along, the solutions will come. As of now, it's just trial and error method which is happening.
Okay. So what you're saying is, as we go ahead, perhaps more clarity will come because
clarity.
people are using various types of sanitizers.
Exactly, and then in what percentage or what concentration you are using those chemical also is also important. So it might have caused rust on particular material, but if you are using too much of it, definitely it will cause.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Gawane. Let me come now to Dr. Ramani and Mr. Bose. Now, how do you keep social distancing in case of assembly units where more than one person is employed? So the question, Dr. Ramani and Mr. Bose, is how can you, in such assembly areas, maintain this social distancing?
Would Dr. Ramani want to go first?
Maybe since you're there, Mr. Bose, maybe you could start and then we'll come to Dr. Ramani.
Sure. So one of the examples, I was giving, I gave in my, when I spoke, we had to increase the distances, in the assembly points also, to keep social distancing in case of, in any case, we'll be doing mock audits and all that. So there we have increased the distances and done the marking once all over again. So that is like an assembly point. Similarly, in the canteens also, we have done the same, so that there is the social distance between one employee and the other. So this is just that we had to get into this discipline and mark them out, so that there are clear markings where we want the employees to be. I think that's the simple answer, I guess.
Yeah. Would you like to add to that? Thank you, Mr. Bose. Would you like to add to that, Dr. Ramani? You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Ramani.
Is it there?
Dr. Ramani, are you there? Okay, maybe we'll come back to Dr. Ramani then. In the meantime, let me go to Mr. Nitin Patel. Nitin, the question here is how to mitigate risk of common points usage, like cranes or certain tools, which are going to be touched by various multiple workers. So in these common points, how can you mitigate the risk, Nitin?
Yeah, this is a valid question for any engineering industry. The only thing is you can keep disinfecting it at a certain interval. That is one possibility. Another possibility is to increase the number of tools. Increasing that one is possibility, and disinfecting at a regular interval. And then also the workmen need to wear gloves, so there are less chances of infection. I think these 2-3 actions are probable options for these things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mahalingam, let me come to you now. Now, in case you are following all the SOPs, in case an employee is infected, what steps do you think, what steps would need to be followed by the company?
Thanks, Mr. North. We have a set of process in place, emergency preparedness. We have made an isolation room ready, and there is an emergency response team is in place. Immediately, the full body gear, the emergency response team will support the affected person or suspected person to bring to this isolation room. Parallelly, emergency response team will call the government authorities, emergency response call number, and with the nearby hospitals, we are having a tie-up, and they will come and immediate medical attention will be given and they will be taken. And we have a separate emergency gate and separate isolation room just adjacent to the emergency gate we made ready, so that we are prepared for any emergencies. And this is addressed in our emergency preparedness plan.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me come to Mr. Kanakaraju. Mr. Kanakaraju, this question specifically mentioned, you had mentioned about actually people working in blocks. So the question here is how do you identify the people working in which block? Who is working in which block? What method are you using for this, Mr. Kanakaraju? Or we have to perhaps unmute Mr. Kanakaraju. Mr. Kanakaraju, just unmute yourself, please.
So,
yeah, Mr. Kanakaraju, can you hear us? Just unmute yourself, Mr. Kanakaraju, if possible. Okay, somehow I think Mr. Kanakaraju is not able to hear us. Let me come to Jiten now. Jiten, now presently the companies are working with about, let's say, 33% of the workforce or around 50% of the workforce. Jiten, now maybe hopefully in a month's time or let's say 2 months down the line, when the workforce capacity increases, when we are almost 90 to 100%, so maintaining, how will this social distancing be maintained, Jiten? Would that not be an issue then during such periods?
Yes, you are right, sir. And we have think about this also. And 1 or 2 actions we have thought about this. We have two factories. One is a machining shop and second is assembly shop. So right now machine shop is with 3 shifts, and social distancing in machine shop is not a big problem for us because people are coming in shift, and between machines the safe distance is always there. It is around 10 to 15 feet. But when we come to assembly, this is a major point to discuss, and we may think for the shift at assembly shop also. And the people like design and account and other who can work from home, they will continue work from home till the factory can accommodate all the people with safety requirement. So these are some thoughts. Whatever the sub assembly we have with joining table, now we are dividing it with distance. So people are now at the safe distance. And we are also thinking about some automation. So manpower can be reduced. Low automation is possible. So our industrial engineering team is also working on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Jiten. Maybe taking the clue from automation, my last question to Mr. Gavane and Mr. Bose would be, do you feel that post-COVID or post-lockdown, this may be an opportunity to go for increasing the automation in the processes? As we know, there are issues also with the migrant labor workforce has gone to the villages. There's going to be a shortage of labor force, what the industry is predicting. So, Mr. Gavane, what do you feel? Is this would this lead to higher automation in certain processes?
Yes, definitely it will lead to higher automation in certain processes, and even before COVID also it had started, like manufacturing 4 or industry 4, what I mentioned, it has already started.
Right.
But definitely in some parts of the country there may be initially shortage of the migrant workers because most of them have returned to their native places. So initially that's going to have an impact. But ultimately, in India we have the issues of unemployment and all. So gradually those laborers are going to return to their workplaces. And then if we have too much of automation, then we are going to cause unemployment also in the country. So there has to be a right balance of both. Business also has to happen and it has to generate the employment also, in my view.
Absolutely. So correct, Mr. Gavane. Let me take the opinion of Mr. Bose also here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nath. I agree with what Mr. Gavane said just now. I'll just add three things. One is, even before COVID, a new plant that we built, it actually employs 1/3 of the workforce that would have otherwise required. And this was way before COVID happened. And the automation is huge in that plant. Now, what we are seeing now is definitely, implemented augmented reality systems, which will allow us to control things remotely. That is a trend that we are clearly seeing, and also multi-skilling of key operators, because, we do not know what the new normal is going to be. But having said these, I again go back to what Mr. Gavane said, there has to be a balance between the two in terms of how much employment you can create and how much automation you would like to bring everywhere.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Bose. I think these are very relevant points, and I think these will be some of the changes we will see in the next few months to come, with the change in the scenario post-COVID or post this lockdown, or as we reboot the production, reboot the processes, reboot the economy. So, friends, with that, we would like to conclude. Let me conclude with a few words from my side. As COVID-19 lockdown in India gets extended in some geographies and gradually relaxed in others based on the containment situation, compliance regulations from the state and central government continue to get revised in order to ensure larger health and safety for one and all. Organizations are facing potentially significant challenges to ensure workplace safety as they start to reopen their businesses. To accelerate the same, today we had an interactive discussion wherein senior industry experts shared insights on how organizations can keep their workplace safe and ensure these compliance processes. I would like to thank all our speakers for their insights, and I would also like to thank all our members and friends from the industry who have participated in this webinar. In fact, the webinar was completely full. I thank all my colleagues at VDMA for organizing this webinar, which is so relevant and pertinent in the present times. Friends, safety does not happen by accident. It starts with awareness, and awareness starts with each one of us connected to the industry. I would like to conclude with a quote from Trevor Kletz, who said, "People say that accidents are due to human errors." I repeat, people say that accidents are due to human error, which is like saying that falls are due to gravity. Always remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Stay safe, stay well, and all the very best to you, friends, as you restart your operations. And thank you, speakers and panelists, for joining us. All the very best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nath.
Thank you, Mr. Nath.
Thank you, Mr. Nath.
Thank you so much.
for organizing this.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.